I'm not really recording you. I'm recording me.
Oh.
Okay. So in writing, we are talking about writing our narratives, right? And we talked about pacing, using the hills and the valleys, and slowing our story so that we really get all those details and we get our reader interested in different things, right? And then we speed it up. How do we speed it up?
Like going down. When you go down, you go
We're going down, and what do we use to speed it up? What can we use? Remember we talked about something we can use. It's like a sled. It's like going down a hill in a sled, but we're not going to actually use a sled in our writing. But what do we use as a writing craft or writing tool to use?
Punctuation. Dialogue.
Ooh.
Skipping
Transition. Transitional phrases. And remember, there's a difference between transitions and transitional phrases. Transitional phrases are what we're going to focus on more because now that we're in 4th grade, right, we need to make sure that we are writing like 4th graders. So instead of just using transitional words, we want to make that move to being using transitional phrases. So a phrase is 2 or 3 words combined, like into a little group, that uses that transition, right? So why do authors use a transition? What is the purpose of a transition? Turn and talk to someone for about 30 seconds about a transition. Turn and talk, you two together. You two together. Gracie, turning and talking. Turn and talk. All 3 of you. You guys can go. Turn and talk. Only for conversations. Why do you use transitions?
So you would write a bunch of details, or it's going down slow, then you skip ahead, or you climbing up, right? You put it like this, you skip ahead, and it goes down. Or you could be like,
I think you're stuck on the sled. You need to get out of the sled idea,
break a leg.
Okay. All right, back to me. Okay. Gracie, what did you and Saul talk about, that transitional phrases? Why do we use those?
Because it will, put more interest in the story.
More interest. Okay, it can create more interest. Matthew, what did you guys talk about?
We talked about when you're writing and you're writing something and happening fast, and then you skip ahead and you're going down.
Okay. And why would that be important as the writer? Why would it be important to be able to skip ahead?
So if you don't skip ahead, it'll just keep on going on and slow.
The story will just keep moving slowly. Okay. So transitional phrases, to go with what Matthew is saying here, transitional phrases are used by authors to move time along, right? Along in the story. And this is the main reason that an author would use a transition. And you can use transitions. I just want you guys to focus more on the phrases of the transition rather than just the one-word transition. Can you guys give me a one-word transition example?
Later.
Later.
Then.
Then.
They.
That they.
That.
Because this is about moving time, right?
Next. That. After. Third.
After.
That.
What about next? second, third,
Second.
or fourth, or fifth, or sixth, or seventh, eighth, ninth, tenth, 1,000.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
Thank you, Victoria, for the finally. So we could go first, second, we can continue on what Matthew is doing, right? We could do that. So we've got later, then, next, after, first, second, final. If I have a story and I start it with, first there was a bug. Then
There was two
there was 2 bugs.
Next,
After that, second, the bugs went on a hunt. Third, the bugs did this. It sounds like maybe a second grader wrote it. But if we use, so I'm going to stay away, a little bit away, from using these blue words, okay? I'm not saying you can't use them at all. I'm just saying I don't want only these kind of transitions in your stories, okay? So give me a phrase that might use these words,
What's the phrase?
but in a phrase. Not then after, because that wouldn't make sense in our story. Then after?
After a while?
After a while. Is that 3 words?
Yes. It doesn't have to be 3 words.
It could be 2 words.
The next day?
After a while.
The next morning.
The next day.
The next morning. And that's
The
what I
next
said.
weekend?
Wait took mine.
In the afternoon.
Hey.
Next weekend.
Later on.
Oh,
Crazy dish.
She's
In the afternoon. Later on. Okay, Danny? Later then. Later then. What would go after that sentence? I'm not sure that would make sense. Later than that day. Maybe later on that day. Later that same day. Later in the afternoon. Later in the morning. But not really later then. So we're not connecting 2 of these together. We wouldn't say later next. Or later after, really. Or later first. Right? So we're not combining 2 of these words. We're creating new phrases, 2 or 3 words that are together, right? That are in the same sentence, in the same order, that create that same movement in time, right? So how could we say finally using a phrase instead of just the word final?
Finally, they did.
Finally they did, but that's still, finally they did. That's a great sentence. That's great, but is it using just the word, or is it using it as a phrase?
Finally on the
Some of them, that's why I'm bringing this up, because some of them are not necessarily going to be as easy to find. Like next is pretty easy to create a phrase around, right?
What about?
We said the next day, the next morning, the next afternoon, the next time, the next year, the next weekend, the next month. We have all of those different things that we can add to it. But finally is a little bit harder.
In the
Right?
afternoon? There.
In the afternoon. Finally in the afternoon.
Finally that day. Finally in the afternoon.
Finally that day. Okay. I'm going to be reading this book to you guys. And at first, I'm going to just be reading it just so we can listen to it. After I read it, then we're going to be listening for the transitional words. Okay?
What's it about?